Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Social Value Always Matters. Welcome. You're here today with myself, Ben Carpenter, and I'm very pleased to be joined with Joe and Jacqui, all the way from New Zealand. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Joe, Jacqui,
Hi.
want to introduce yourself and explain what you do?
I'll go first, Joe. So, kia ora, my name is Jacqui. I'm from New Zealand, obviously. We work for a large non-government organisation in west of Auckland, predominantly around working with Indigenous communities and impoverished communities. So my role there is Director of Whānau Ora, which is our frontline service provision arm. So, hi.
Thanks, Jacqui. And you're currently in a car watching your children play netball, so I appreciate
Yes.
This is fantastic. And Joe, please explain your role.
Oh, hi. So I'm Joe Nicholson. I work for Waipareta as well. In the backbone support, I'm the Director of Social Impact there. So we look to actually manage and articulate sort of the impact for our families of the programs that we're working with, and work very closely with the frontline and Jacqui's teams.
Amazing. Well, thanks for your time. And this series then is about looking at how we've all had to change in response to the coronavirus crisis. So I'd just like to ask you, perhaps start with Jacqui, how has coronavirus changed your work?
Yep, so there's approximately 110 frontline staff that we have. And when we went into level 4 lockdown, which was towards the end of March, we totally changed our workforce within 5 days. We had all our staff were moved into different roles and different functions. So we had teams that were on warehouse and distribution. We didn't own a warehouse, but we got one. We had our accounts team work really closely with their connections in China and got us PPE gear for 3 to 4 months, which we have a massive supply of. We really ramped up our elderly care response because, as everyone knows, COVID preys on the elderly. So we have, and we look after, we call them kaumātua, and that's our elderly. So we really ramped up our response for them. We had a rapid response team who would be kitted out in their PPE gear, look like astronauts going to the moon, and they would visit our communities, our families in their homes, anything that was required urgently, like food, which was a large need at that time. They would get out there within 2 hours. And then we had things like our IT company, our IT team develop some apps so we could capture what we were doing, the number of families we were providing support to. So that was week 1, week 2, week 3. By week 4, we had to readjust our workforce again based on the needs that were emerging. Our whole frontline are now remote ready, so a lot of them would work from home. We now have like 4 floors of offices where there's not a lot of people because they're community based. And it was really, and it still is now, like we're trying to deal with the massive unemployment that's going to be coming in. That is already here. So it's really been week by week, we look at what the needs are and try and adjust our workforce to try and meet that. So yeah, I'm not sure if that's what you wanted me to talk about.
So no, that sounds like a lot of change and reacting to the needs of the communities. And Joe, perhaps this one's for you. I mean, or either of you, your organisation is used to working with families and supporting people, but we believe that COVID-19 has really exposed issues of inequality and well-being. It brought those to the surface even more. Do you think that's been the case? Have you observed that?
Waipareta was able to do, because it was so entrenched in its community and it works dearly with community of high needs, it was able to front foot that and actually put in some preventative things around actually setting up health testing centres and stuff like that. So definitely they were front footing, prepared for that inequality to come through within the health systems and things that were there. So I think the response that Waipareta made by changing to a health promotion it really addressed the needs of its community because it understood what potentially would be exposed, their whānau would be exposed to. So yeah, it has, you know, like there's a whole new class too of people that have never been unemployed before or never been retrenched and things like that. So it's actually in a whole new area that, you know, the food parcels requiring food were not just our normal whānau that would be working with, or whānau families that we'd be working with. They were people that all of a sudden had been retrenched and didn't actually know where to go, or, you know, sort of how to access that help. So, yeah.
So there's like new families that are perhaps needing your support that hadn't before. And for listeners or viewers that aren't familiar with the concept of whānau ora, can you explain what that is? Because I think I understand, but it'd be great to hear from you.
Go, Jax. Whānau 101.
So whānau ora in New Zealand is a model of working with family where your aspiration, it's based on aspiration, not on deprivation. The family leads all the change. They're the centre, they determine what's required of them. It's very outcome focused as opposed to contractual output focuses. And it's really placing the ownership of family transformation in their hands, and all our job is really to do is support them, navigate them to where they need to go, and always strength-based, looking at what their strengths are and bring about change in other areas where they may be having challenges. For the Indigenous people, it's very much based in our worldview. And yeah, it's a long-term, it's about intergenerational change. Families are the owners of their own change, and we're just going along for the ride to support them. And we've found that based on that philosophy, that families are more likely to own their own change, and it's more long-term. Yeah, so that's in a whānau ora in 45 seconds or 30 seconds or whatever that is. Quick philosophical view on what it is.
No, thank you for that, because it isn't something that we're particularly familiar with in the UK, and I'm sure other parts of the world will find that really interesting. It sounds like it's about empowerment and also just breaking down structural inequalities and things like that. Is that part of it as well? And do you think post-COVID there's going to be more opportunity to do more work like this?
Yeah, so whānau ora, I think it operates at different levels. There's the on the ground working with families where you work with them on a strengths base, you know, they determine what they want. And then there's the other at a regional level where we partner with other groups and look for patterns and data and information coming about around families that's affecting at a regional level. And then we lobby our regional council and governments. And then we have at a national level whānau ora where a lot of our movers and shakers in our world come together and they lobby the government for changes. So the whānau ora network has been really massive through COVID. We would have you're talking about 80 different partners across the North Island would come together. What are the trends coming through? What are families needing? And we would have meetings, Zoom meetings, or Zui we call them, which is Zoom, and Māori hui is meeting, so we would call them Zuis. We would have 2 Zuis a week with all these CEOs. What are the trends coming through? What's the data telling us? What are families telling us? And then who's the government agencies we need to lobby and bring alongside to make change in that moment. So it was rapid change, you know, in time. So we're still doing a lot of that now. So we've got this massive collective impact approach that has been evolving for a long time, but COVID really brought about, you know, the right conditions for collective impact. Not so good for everything else, but for collective impact, it was like a perfect storm of bringing all the different conditions together for collective impact. So we've got a lot more massive work to go, but it's really brought our partners together and government agencies, because our partners are on the ground, know their communities. They have to say, what is it you need, and then just give us the resources so that we can develop what it is.
And I think that was the power of like the journey that the whānau ora providers have been on the last 5 to 6 years. Actually set them up really and made them so agile to be able to switch to this kind of model that, like, so they've been working towards it for a long time, but the flexibility of really understanding the community needs and being able to just switch like that was really powerful to see. You know, for us, even in the backbone, like, because we originally used to be, our social impact used to be like the incubator of change, where we test out all these models. But it was actually just giving the power to the front line to actually just go and do what was needed to do, and that the backbone started to run alongside the front line and actually write what was actually going to happen and clear the way for them. Like, you know, if they needed training, if they need to be mobile, if they if they needed some processes to work alongside them. So it was quite exciting to see how backbones, which we're usually holding and incubating, we actually just had to switch and run alongside where the front line was and look at that model. So that was really exciting.
It sounds like in this period, desperate times have meant that the families have really led the change and what's needed, and the sort of organisation has played a supporting role. Is that the case? And let's just talk now about the future, because we're starting to get back to some idea of normality. What do you think the opportunities are or challenges to continue this way of working?
I think, COVID brought about a lot of innovation for a lot of different people. So we now have we started with a community-based assessment centre. So we had COVID testing. Now we've morphed that into a mobile community health hub, where we take a nurse-led health centre to the community. So just breaking down our model of GP practice, where they will come, they will wait for hours to be seen by a doctor, and making it more accessible. The other thing too is what we've really started to do is push back on some of our funding agencies to say, hey, just because business as usual before COVID, you've gone back there, actually the rest of the world hasn't. And we haven't even seen the full impact of the ramifications of COVID now. We've got most of Māori, a lot of them are in the tourism industry, so that, is already impacting on them. And as Joe said, we've had families who ran their own businesses and just haven't been able to survive, so they're all coming through. So the other areas for innovation for us is what does the social enterprise, what does that look like in terms of our communities? How do we support that? How do we grow that? And how do we just look at different things differently that we hadn't before? So it's a bit scary, but quite exciting for us too. We have a CEO who's very much got an appetite for risk, so is willing to do things way outside the box that others may consider, what the hell are they doing? But we all think it's really exciting, and our staff now have all the equipment that they can work from anywhere. They don't need to come to the office. So although there's a lot of things that are not working for people in COVID, there is a lot that there's a silver lining for some of these things too.
Yeah.
And I think, so don't you think too also that there's a lot of about what can we do opposed to what's not available. So there's that aspirational thing about looking around, like sharing, mentoring, the summit of good ideas, coming and brainstorming what are some ideas that can help this community. So there's a lot of that positive stuff actually happening, because we know that that's not all perfect. So instead of just concentrating on what's not perfect, also giving people hope about looking at what potentially can come out of that, some new ideas, some new social enterprise ways. How else can we generate money and look at different economic models and stuff as well?
Yeah. Well, so we're having 6 economic summits in the next couple of months in different regions, just so those regions can say, hey, this is what is going to work for us. This is what business looks like. And then how do we support that? So yeah, I think that stuff's exciting.
Absolutely. Well, I can tell you for a fact that I'm really interested. I know a lot of people in the UK are looking enviously at New Zealand and the way that you've reacted, as a government with your Prime Minister, but that seems to have cascaded down throughout your organisations. Or maybe you were just really well prepared anyway, because you've been, having this approach for a long time. But I think we'll wrap it up for now. But if it's okay, we'll definitely arrange one of these again soon to find out how you're continuing to do this amazing work. Would that be okay?
Of course.
Cool.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for your time this evening. You can get back to your netball now, Jacqui. And thanks for joining us. It's been great. And good luck with all the work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.